A member of my team, who shall go unnamed at this point in time, made a comment to me last week, which I had to laugh about. She said something to the effect of, I've always hated sales. And I realized that after more than a year and a half with this company, I'm in sales. And I said, yeah, you really are. That actually might narrow it down to who it might be because there's only a couple have been with me that long. But the funny thing is she said, you know what? Now I realize I actually don't hate it anymore. I realize that it's not what I thought it was. I thought sales was something dirty or something that, was about trying to get somebody to buy something they didn't want. And she said, I realize it's just about relationships and making sure you're making connections that make sense. And I loved it. I love the fact she came to that all by herself because it's a really important perspective. Now, I love sales. I've always loved sales. I have probably something wrong with me, but maybe not because I've always believed that sales was just what she described. It's a relationship. It's a way to figure out what somebody really wants and see if you are the person or the company that can supply it. It might be goods, it might be services, it might be ideas. Sales is something that is around us all the time, but sometimes we don't even think about it. So through the rest of the week, I actually had several more interactions, not just with some of my team, but others on my team, as well as some colleagues and some clients and some different people that we interact with, and some podcast guests. And so this concept of sales was really floating around along last week. And I realized that there's something really important that I want to share. And that is sales will never feel bad or wrong when, as the salesperson, you put yourself in the shoes of that customer and you truly ask yourself, what do they want? How do they want to be spoken to? How do they want to be communicated with? How do they want me to interact with them? What do they want me to know about them? And when you stop long enough to try and put yourself in the shoes of that customer, you will know whether or not it's the right opportunity or whether you have something that they can benefit from or not. And then you should move accordingly because sometimes a sale will happen and should happen, and sometimes it should never happen. And sometimes it just should never happen right now. And I think that that's the real critical element to think about is, should this happen right now? Because number one, if it should never happen, if you don't have what that person really needs, then let them go for crying out loud. Then you're not the one. And tell them that and be honest. People love that honesty. And if it's right now, then make sure it's happening for them right now. Don't make it last too long. Don't stretch it out. Help them to move through that process at their level and their pace, but to make the decision and not be left in limbo. But I think where we all struggle is, I know this person wants this good or this service or this idea, but they don't want it now. So what do I do? Do I just leave them alone and wait until they come back? No, you build a relationship. And in that relationship, you get the opportunity to ask them the simple question of, where would you like to go from here? Because it sounds like you're very interested in what we have, but it might not be the right time. So help me to figure out what's the best way to keep in touch with you that feels comfortable for you and that allows us to make the decision together when you're ready. See, that's the thing is sometimes in sales, we think we're waiting for that magic point, where a person magically says, okay, let's let this happen. Or that if they haven't said that, that we have to, be sneaky about it in the background, can't tell them what we're thinking or gosh forbid we should, let them know that we have them on as potential clients that are somewhere in the sales cycle. Hey, we all know it. So let's be honest about it. Now, why am I talking about this today? Not just because of all these interactions this week, because I think sometimes, when something comes up and then you start looking for it, like, you're going to go buy a car, you want a red car, all you see is red cars. But also because it's been reminding me of some sales tactics that are being used against me right now that I don't care for. So I figured this is time just to put it all out there. Okay, so number one, most of you know that I spend a lot of time for our business networking on LinkedIn. It's an important facet of my business. It's been the number one driver of my business for the last 5 years. But what I don't care about in LinkedIn are people who connect with me and immediately pitch me. Now, I'm going to give a little, kudos for not a kudos. I'm going to a little disclaimer here. I've probably done that too, and I probably did it a lot in the beginning. Not the way it's being done to me now. It wasn't like, hey, hire me for all the things you need. But I probably approached some people a little too directly, knowing that they were the exact type of person, that person in that position that I wanted to network with. And when I realized it pretty early on, I backed off and I realized that's just not how I want to approach anything. It seems like lately, at least 15 to 25 people a week approach me. They want to connect on LinkedIn and they either give me their pitch immediately when they're trying to connect with me, which now, by the way, that gives me the opportunity not to accept their connection request, but I do because unless they seem like a really creepy person, which none of them do, I'm like, I might be interested in learning more about them, maybe what they offer at some point in time, but I just don't want it now. But when the pitch comes then immediately after that and over again, now, hey, here's some things. There's some really good ways to do business on LinkedIn. That's not it. And I'm not sure how people are doing, why, if they're succeeding with this or not, but there must be something working because they keep doing it. And a lot of people are doing it. And it feels really aggressive because you're selling me something you don't know if I need. You have no idea if I need what you're selling. And you don't want to take the time to actually ask me questions to see if there is. You want to pitch me immediately. Now let's talk about the flip side. Hey, you look like somebody great I'd love to network with. Hey, let's catch a quick 15-minute conversation to see if we can be mutually beneficial to each other. All right, that's a little less salesy. It's still uncomfortable. I don't know you yet. I don't know whether or not I don't know anything about you. I don't know what your activity is on LinkedIn that might tell me about, what you stand for, maybe your posts, what you like. And I don't know anything about you yet. And I'm telling you, I got a jam-packed schedule. I don't have time for meetings that I don't know if they're going to be beneficial. Now, okay, I'm not being snotty here. I'm just saying, until we've even started a relationship, how do you know? Now, I have a couple people on LinkedIn that I'm going to say I've known, and I put this in quotation marks because they're people I have never met face to face, but that over time took the time to read my posts, to comment, to leave me thoughtful remarks, to ask me to read something that they had. They took the time to build a connection. And I have several of those that if they would have approached this the other way, I would have never continued a business relationship with them. But now I feel like they're very trusted people. And that communication was built on them trying to understand me and me getting an opportunity to learn about them. That's the building of the relationship. See, sales that's, just the ringing of the cash register, that is just a transaction. It's a transaction. If you go to the grocery store, you buy your groceries, you pay for your groceries, that's a transaction. The register has rung. If I go in to buy, I don't know, some socks. I'm going to go into a store to buy socks. I don't need any help picking out the socks. I'm going to pick up the socks. I'm going to go buy the socks. That's a transaction. If I'm going to go to the store because I want to buy a new suit and I need help trying to figure out what kind of suit I want, and I want to work with the salesperson there, now that's a sales situation. That becomes a relationship, even if it's just for the short period of time. And the person who spends time asking me will tell me about what suits you have. Tell me about what things you're looking for. Are you wanting something in a certain color, a certain cut? Now they're building a relationship with me based on what I want. Do you want this suit right now? Do you need it for a special occasion later? Which lets them know, hey, if we don't find what we want today, maybe I can order some things in for her. Those are the steps that help us in sales situations truly build bridges that allow sales to become these dynamic, incredible opportunities. So how do we do it? How do we actually know whether or not we are operating too much like an overseller, a pusher, somebody who's just trying to get the transaction done? Or how do you know whether or not you are actually meeting your customers and clients where they need to be? Well, here's my advice. Number one, just stop. Just stop for a minute and breathe. I talk about yoga dog, reminding me all the time. But when you stop and breathe, you'll start to evaluate, what am I really doing? So if I look at, for instance, maybe the last 10 interactions I've had with clients that are going nowhere, then I might want to say, what am I doing? How are my phone calls coming across? How are my email messages coming across? Am I connecting with them? Is there some reason that they are ghosting me? Because if we start to see patterns, then we have to look at ourselves. And when we stop and we take that deep breath, then we can start to see clearly. Now, here's the thing, people who have sales targets, and I'm a firm believer in sales targets because that's how we measure our success and get things done. If they're not on target, they tend to start to get really anxious. Oh my goodness, I'm not at my sales target and I need to get to my sales target. What if I don't get to my sales target? Am I going to lose my job if I don't get to the sales target? And those fears start to build anxiety. The anxiety builds to pressure, and the pressure leads to a zero level of relationship with your potential client and customer. So once you have stopped and recognize, okay, maybe I'm not doing this right. Second thing is to think about what that client or customer feels. Think about it. What do they feel? What are they needing? Why are they coming to me in the first place? And how can I reach them where they are? Not to complete the sale, but to make sure that they're the right person for the sale. And if so, then determine the third element, which is plan how to take those steps with them one by one. So when you stop, you breathe, you can allow yourself to think more clearly and put yourself really truly in the shoes of that customer or their client. And when you start to plan, then you start to look at them as individual clients and customers, not as numbers, not on a spreadsheet, not in a CRM, but as individual, get this one, human beings. So I'm going to end with one quick story. I have this, obviously I've written a couple books. I have this, occasionally I get calls from these publishing companies who want me to publish their book with them. They have no idea the relationship I have with my publisher, but they want me to publish with them because they want me to pay for their services and do other things. And there's a lot of people out there that aren't great. Then there's a lot of other publishers that are great. There are people that actually take the time to say, are you happy with your publisher? Tell us about your process. Do you have any other books in the future? Now, I don't have any intention of moving from my publisher, but those people who approach me, I find that very respectful. Now, I have this one who keeps calling me and emailing me constantly, leaving me misleading phone messages. I have emailed them back, told them to please take me off their list. I have not responded to, get this, 27 voice messages in the last 5 months. Now you might be asking, Michael, why haven't you just blocked their number? I don't know. I'm kind of trying to see how long this guy continues to try and push this. But every time he calls me, he leaves a message and pretends like he's never left me a message before, which means that he's desperate. And I am not an individual. I am a number. I am a person. Not a person. I'm just another entry into their CRM that could potentially bring them business. When we take a look at how we operate, and I don't care if you are sitting here watching saying, I'm not in sales, this doesn't apply to me. Every one of us is in sales in some way. You just might not know it. And if we need to have that conversation, we'll have that conversation. But when we have this dialogue within ourselves and we really slow down, we put ourselves in their shoes, we can make a difference that will not only create more sales, but happier customers and clients that are much happier to refer on to us as we continue those sales relationships. That's what's motivating me this week, you guys. Have a wonderful, wonderful week ahead.